Have you ever had one of those days where you're creating a rather ambitious project for a YouTube video and making the script and doing all the demonstrations and stuff, and then just procrastinate the next day and just decide to do something completely different? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do today. So as always, there are timestamps, or video chapters, or whatever you like to call them, down at the bottom of the screen here. So yeah, if you want to skip, then please, because this intro is going to drag on for probably more than I wanted to. So today I'm going to be creating something from Inception. I decided to create a rather simple bit, Dominic's Totem, which is just a way that he can tell if he's in a dream or not, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, watch Inception. It is really, really good. Anyway, so he has this little spinning top thing. It's not like the usual spinning top. So, that's my boring introduction. I guess we'll just get straight into the tutorial. So, number one, we're going to add a ground. So Shift A, add a plane, make it bigger. We're going to make it, I don't know, 5. 5 it should be fine. And I don't know if you know, but I'm absolutely awful at modelling things without a reference. So I'm going to press Shift A, we're going to go down to the image, and we're just going to choose reference here, and not images as planes. And then we're just going to choose our reference. I was looking around for images, and I found this one was the best. Because it's just quite a good side view. So let's just delete all of the rotation, change them to 0, and then change the X to 90, and change the Z to... Oh, that's perfect. And there we go. So let's just make sure that we line this all up as best as we can. There we go. So you see it's from quite a good side view, and separate it from its background, so I would say this is a very good picture. So what primitive are we going to start from? Good question. We're going to start from a circle, because the most powerful, or one of the most powerful ways of hard surface modelling is just by extruding and scaling, and it does the rest for you, if you know what I mean. But yeah, why do I keep saying really annoying. So you see we have our circle here. I'm just going to E to extrude, and we're going to scale it upwards, and I suppose we could go into, yeah, let's go into wireframe, so we'll just get the most accurate thing. So you see the camera's slightly on top of it, so we're going to do a bit of guessing work, but yeah, I'm sure that'll be fine. So we're going to do up to about here, and then we're going to scale up again until it reaches the bounds, and I'm going to press EZ, and you see we're just not going to scale anything here. We just want a little bit of room like that. I'm going to scale that back in. And we could do some more fine adjustments a bit later. So just carry on doing this process. And don't be tempted to sort of follow it, because we want it like perfect at this stage, and we don't want to follow like the image, if you know what I mean. So we see this looks a bit rubbish. So we're going to press Alt to get rid of the, well, to get the circle. And we're going to do GG, which means we can just change where it is and just make it a little bit more accurate. There we go. And we're going to do the same for this one. GG. I think maybe something like that. Looks good. And now, if we just hide this, we just need to fill in the top edges here. So press Alt, and then press F to fill, and then go underneath, and then press 2, and then press Alt. Sometimes it's quite hard to do this. Bear with. Alt, and then F to fill. And yeah, it looks like garbage. Blender Internal 3ds Max. That was a joke. That was a joke. But if we just press Control 3, which is the way that we can subdivide things with the shortcut. So Control 3, it looks even worse because this just looks bad. So let's just fix that. You see here we're gonna get some weird pinching because circles, well, subdivision surface hates circles, so we're going to have to do something about that. So we're going to press Tab, and then here we're just going to click on the top face here, and number 1 we're going to make it a little bit smaller, and number 2 we're going to inset it, and so we're going to, you see it just makes it look a bit nicer. I could go into detail of why this works about edge flow and topology and flow and stuff, but I won't. So that's looking pretty nice, and if we press Alt again we can just go down a little bit like that. I apologise for my dad whistling, it's really annoying. And so at the bottom here you see we're getting some weird encon stretching, so we're just going to press I again to inset it. And there you have your totem. And it looks pretty sick. So, I'm going to hide that. And we're going to press shade smooth. And I think we're probably going to subdivide it one more time. Yeah, that's looking pretty nice. Just for personal preference, I think that this needs to be a bit thinner at the top, so we're going to press... Yeah, there, that's nice. So, the next stage is animating it. And I'll probably fiddle around with it for about an hour trying to work out how to actually physically do it, like, really well. And I've made two conclusions. Number one, that's a really dumb idea. That's 1 hour that I'm never getting back. And number two, Blender physics are really rubbish. Anyway, so we're going to actually just animate it with some drivers and a bit of procedural noise. Because, well, I hate physics. So, the way that we can do this is we want to get it spinning. So, with the Z rotation, so if I do this, you see that's spinning it like this. We're just gonna do hashtag frame. Oh, go. Ignore, that's bad. Whoops. Frame. There we go. And now you see going around like this. And you may be thinking, hey, but InterPixel, that just looks bad. That's just bad. It doesn't even look like it's going around very fast. What I tell you is every single time there's frame, it is taking the frame, the value, and turning it into radians. Why, hello there, it is InterPixel from the future, and I've been editing it, and I've wondered, well, am I able to really edit it so it sounds good? And it's a no. So I just don't want to confuse you, Al. Oh my god, that sounds so cringy. I don't want to confuse you. And when I'm talking about radians, I'm talking about Oilers or Eulers. I still have not seen the pronunciation, and it's been a few hours. So yeah. Wait, is it? Can we change it? Radian. Yeah, no, I think it's using radians. That's why it's garbage. Anyway, so but it's actually going a bit more than 1 revolution a second. So you see it's looking kind of slow, but when we use motion blur, it won't. So if we do, just for preference, you don't have to do this. If you divide by 10, then you see now it's going like super fast. But because it's 1 revolution a second and a bit more because of stupid radians, I do not have any personal hate towards radians, but whatever. It looks like this, and it will look a lot better with motion blur and everything like that. So, moving swiftly on, and I have no idea why this is doing a little boogie. Yeah, I don't know. I'll fix that and I'll get right back. My conclusion to that of trying to fix it is nothing is perfect. Anyway, so, here we have this. Now it's time to add some procedural noise. So, we're going to go to the first frame, so we'll just go to 1, and we're going to do I, and we're going to press I to open up the insert keyframe menu, and then we're just going to add a rotation keyframe. So this will rotate add a rotation thing on the X, Y, and Z, but that's bad because we know that we have a driver here. So when we go into here, you see that the driver somewhere has been converted into a keyframe, which we don't like because we like proceduralism around here. And so we're going to have to do something about that. So we're going to press Ctrl Z, and now you see that we have the purple thing, which just means it's procedural. It's using a driver. We're going to actually add an empty. You see what this is going to do in a second. So I'm going to add in, I don't know, maybe I could just do a plain, I'll do sphere for now. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and then we're going to click on our totem. We might as well rename things. So, now we're going to parent this, so you click on this first, to the empty, Control P, parent to object. So now you see, if we do this, you see it is spinning around, but for just some demonstration purposes, I'm going to divide it by 10, and then look at it in wireframe view. We can actually we can sort of move it around with all of the drivers staying intact and everything, which is very cool. And let's just get rid of that. So we're actually going to add the procedural noise to this one. So we're going to do I, and then rotation. It's added keyframes on the X, Y, and Z. So now we're going to locate the graph editor. So we click off onto here, and you go to graph editor, which is Shift F6, or you just press Control Tab when you're in the dope sheet or the timeline. So now, here's a menu here. It basically just gives you all of the keyframes. You press period and it will just locate you there. So now we're going to press N. So you see that we have there's like a yellow dot here. That is our keyframe. And so we want to use that keyframe. We're going to add a bit of noise. So first we're going to start with the X Euler rotation. Wait, I've been saying Euler wrong all the time, haven't I? Isn't it Euler? Or is it Euler? I don't know. Anyway, so modify. Oh, I think I might be saying. Yeah, I've been saying radians is wrong as well. I think it could have been Euler rotation as well. Whatever. Anyway, so we're going to add something called noise, and you see here now it's going to look like garbage. So we're going to mess with these sliders. This just means sort of like the scale of it. This means the strength of it. The offset just means the offset. The depth just means how many. It's just the iteration value. Or would it be the recursive? I don't know. And so we're just going to fit these to our liking. So we're going to make this 0.01, just because. So you see here, it looks like it's looking a bit better now, because, you know, nothing's perfect. Well, I've already learnt that bit today. We're going to do 0.02 instead. A tiny bit more. And we're going to press on this button here, which is just going to copy everything. And then we're going to go onto the Y Euler rotation or Euler rotation. I really need to sort out my pronunciation. And we're going to press the button next to it, which pastes everything. And now you see it's looking like it's just sort of wobbling sort of uniformly with the X and Y. So we use this clever thing called the offset. And there you go. Now it looks epic. Epicness. And what's great is that we can change literally everything about this animation very quickly. And that is why I like proceduralism. Anyway, so that's all we're going to do for the animation. Now it is time for the shading. What on earth is that? So we're going to navigate to the shading workspace. And we're going to be using Eevee because, number one, my computer is bad. And number two, cycles is unnecessary at this point of time. And probably a good idea to add the camera. So we're going to do Control-Alt-0 in a position that we like until you realise that you don't have a camera. There we go. And there we go. And then we're going to change our resolution from whatever you have here to 1080 by 1080. And then, oh god, that's 180. 1080. And then on the X, we're just going to times that by 2, which should give us 2160, which is great because now we've got cinematic. Oh god, that sounded bad. Cinematic looks, because, you know, who doesn't like that? I think we're going to increase the focal length a little bit. And then if we change this from global to view, this is an incredibly useful feature, and I bet, like, not many people know about it. If you press G and Z, then just sort of follows the view normal. So there we go. So we're on 128mm, and so we should probably just scale this up a little bit more. Great. And now we're going to just reorient this. What the heck? What? Oh, sit on the view. Making sure that you're back to global. You do G, Shift Z, and then just sort of reorienting it. So we don't waste any space. So yeah. Oh my god, I got a rubber. I don't want a rubber. Thank you very much. Cool. So, now we've got our camera, we're going to go to our shading workspace, make sure it's Eevee. And yeah, that's all good. Make sure there's ambient occlusion, bloom, screen space, reflections, and motion blur. Yeah. We're going to add in an environment texture, which is just sort of a thing that lights your scene for you. And then we're going to do a bit more refining later. Okay, so we're going into the render view with Z8, or just up here. Yeah. So, now we're in our camera view here. We're going to navigate to the camera settings and make sure we have yeah, my pronunciation is bad. I should probably work on that. To 1, so it's like black. Nice. Okay, so now we have that. We're going to be doing some texturing work. So firstly, I'm going to change this to something like 0.3 because I want most of the lighting work to be done by some area lamps a bit later. So 0.1, yeah, that looks great. But for now we'll just use material preview. Great, so if you've looked at the texture, then you've realised, well, you might have realised that there's sort of a very rough texture. Sorry about, what on earth, that's a loud plane. Then it's sort of quite metallic and quite rough. So we're going to up the metallic to 1, like that. And now we're going to add 2 noise textures, one to control the other. So for the first one, I can't speak today, we're just going to turn it down to something like 2. Actually no, let's do 3. And change the detail to like 4. No, to 0. We don't want no detail. Okay, that looks good. So now we have this. We're going to work on the other one. This one, we want to be quite low, so like something like 1, but incredibly detailed, and incredibly rough, and slightly distorted. So let's do 0.3. And cool. So now we're going to add in some colour ramps to fit our liking. So for this one, bring it up a little bit. That looks nice. And then for this one, we're going to change that as well. For this one, we're going to just make it a bit lighter. Something like that, maybe. And then we're going to mix these two together with a Mix RGB node. And if you're a cool kid with Node Wrangler enabled, you can do Control-Shift, right-click, and it mixes them together. Except it doesn't do what we want, because this needs to go in the factor, and this needs to go in that socket, and this needs to go kind of dark, like that. So now you see we have a bit of a variation, which should hopefully make it look a bit more realistic. So there we go. And always remember, it's going to be spinning very fast, so it doesn't have to look amazing. So we're going to plug that into the roughness, and also into the clear coat. I'm going to turn the clear coat roughness up a little bit. I'm going to plug that into the surface, and then we have something that looks not very good. Okay, these are my final settings for anyone who wants them. Oh, I forgot about one thing. Next we're going to add in a bump node, plug that into the normal, and that's just going to give us a tad bit of bump. And we're going to use this one, plug that into the height, and it's going to look absolutely disgusting. Yeah, that's just like unbearably horrible. So 0.01 in the distance, turn the strength down to about 0.2. Nice. Okay, and then you see if we play this, then we've got our spinning thing. Amazing. And then for the floor, I think I might just add in some sort of wood texture. So we're going to press Ctrl-Shift-T on the principled BSDF node, and then plug in all of these. And it does it all for you. And there you go. Now we got some cool things going on. So we're just going to alter the mapping until we like what we see. Oh, shoot. Plug that. Make sure that everything is connected to this one thing. And yeah, maybe we should... Oh shoot, that's a scale. Maybe something like that, and then we're just gonna make the scale a lot smaller because we know that this is very small totem. There we go. So now we're just going to make this look a little bit more 3D. So we're going to tab into edit mode, and then if we go up here, you see that we have a trapezium, which means we're allowed to add loop cuts and stuff. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to we're going to slice out all of these bits here. And of course, once you've done this, then you've chosen your fixed position, so you can't change it, which is a bit annoying, but whatever. There we go. And there we go. Let me do that. Okay, so now we have everything. We're just going to get rid of that with Control X. And then we're just going to select all of the cuts that we've made. I'm going to press Control B to bevel, like that. And I think we'll just do one cut like that. Now we're going to extrude them down ever so slightly. And then with these edges, there we go. And then if we just do Control B to bevel. Okay, now we're going to go back into Material Preview. And now you see it just looks a bit more 3D. Okay, and then we're going to go back to the shading. And probably change the strength of this to something like that. So we're going to go into here and we're going to add a few things. Firstly, we're going to add an area lamp or an aerial light, and we're just going to make it a bit bigger. Make sure it's pointing down on here. Now we're going to go into the object constraints and do a track 2 and click on this. So now you see wherever it goes, it's tracking to this, which is great. So if we go into render mode and we turn up the brightness of this, then you see we've got a pretty nice light. We're going to make the size quite a lot bigger because we want it kind of a soft light in a way. So that looks great. And then we're just going to change the colour of it slightly more warm, but the top one shouldn't be too warm. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into solid view. I'm going to duplicate this, scale it down, and make it a disc. Why? I have no idea. I just felt like it at that very moment. So we're going to scale it up a little bit more and then have a look at what it looks like in render mode. And so I should probably change the colour to my liking. And then I need to turn up the power quite a lot. So you see it's getting this nice fill light reflection. And now we're just going to add one more here, and it's going to be a slightly different colour, go for more reddish. That's looking pretty cliched and annoying, so we're going to change it up a little bit to make it look even more cliched and annoying, which looks even horribler, and then we start having an existential crisis. What the and that's looking pretty nice. And one final light is just going to be one very close to the ground. It's looking nice. So now we just need to mess around with these things. So with motion blur, turn the shutter down. So a decrease in shutter speed will make it look more motion blurry. An increase in shutter speed will make it less blurry. And we're going to change the steps up to 3 because when I rendered it before with just one step, it just looked a bit rubbish. So we don't need 4 to 64 samples unless you have a beefy PC, in which I'm jealous. It's time to add some depth of field. So we're going to go to depth of field here, and then we're just going to make it so it's focused the wrong way into pixel. There we go. And we're going to turn the f-stop down to something like 0.4. Okay, that's way too, that's just ridiculous. 0.6. Yeah, that's looking nice. And we're going to change the ratio, which is just sort of like the squashiness of it, to 1.5 to show off our non-existent camera and flex on all of the people who spent £2,000 just to have an aperture with a ratio of 1.5. So, yeah, I think the depth of field really sort of adds atmosphere, and so I really like that part of it. And we're just going to maybe change the HDRI, add a little bit more. And I think I may just change the shutter speed quite far down or something. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. Make sure to use code InterPixel100 to get 100% off your next Blender purchase. That was a joke. So yeah, I have to have a disclaimer, otherwise I get told off. Anyway, so hopefully you're all well in lockdown or wherever you are in this horrible COVID world at the moment. But yeah, have a good day, guys.